Well, so I'm here with Quentin Lee. He's in Hong Kong. He's an awesome filmmaker, and I actually remember seeing People I Slept With at the Elements Theater.
Yeah,
when
that
it
was actually
released,
2009. It was released for a week in Hong Kong, actually, after the premiere at Independent Asian Film Festival, something like that. It's a sex comedy, sort of about this girl who's been partying, then became pregnant, and then she wants to sort of find out who's the baby daddy, and eventually she ends up keeping the kid. And the movie sort of like broke like Randall Park because it was his first theatrical
I remember him.
debut, and
Yeah.
he's a nice but boring guy. Then he became obviously he's like in fresh off the boat right now. He's a dad, he's the lead,
Yeah.
the star, I'd say.
And that's the first time I saw him.
And also,
Yeah.
it was Archie Kao's first leading theatrical role. So he was like never been a leading man theatrically.
Yeah.
And then of course Archie married Zhou Shun and then became a star in China. As also Chris Silka's first theatrical role, and he came in as just fresh off as an Abercrombie model, and then he booked Spider-Man, then Beverly Hills 90210, then proposed to Paris Hilton. But I guess it didn't work out, the engagement. So, and also sadly, it was actually James Shigeda's last film. Who was an Asian American star that Hollywood. He was the first Hollywood Asian American star, and that then the last film was my film, and yeah, so it was actually a really fun film. I guess when I was making it, I didn't think. I was just making it. I was so into the process, I wasn't thinking so much about it.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it was also my first digital film. So at that time, the film before was Ethan Mao, which is like 2003 or 4, and we shot on 35 actually.
That
And
was with John.
That was with no, that's Shopping for Fangs with John Cho.
Shopping with Fangs was your first film.
feature.
It had
Shopping
John
for
Cho
Fangs
in it.
It was also John Cho's first feature ever. So
Yeah.
literally, it's like, I don't know. I got a headshot. It came in the mail. Me and Justin Lin I thought, oh, he's from Berkeley and he's good looking. I gotta cast him. It was actually him, and I was maybe like 3 years ahead of John Cho. So I was a senior when he was could it be? I was a senior when he was a freshman, or I was a senior when he was a sophomore, something like that. No, I was a junior. He was a freshman. Then but I didn't know him.
You're basically in that whole class of people. Like,
he was actually an English major, I think, and we actually published the same article in the same literary magazine back at Berkeley.
Oh wow!
I think he was published something on vampirism. So yeah, obviously
Really?
I got his headshot, and he went to Berkeley. I said, okay, got to hire this guy. I got to get him in at least, and he was great. It's just totally okay. This is the guy you want to play. Like, and I made him play this gay Singaporean guy in Shopping for Fangs. So.
Well, isn't it great that when you're choosing these people and casting these people, it's like, you're sort of starting off their careers and look how far they've come. So it kind of talks about your taste, right?
Yeah,
like
it definitely is, and I hope that sometimes it's easier to get them in my next movie, but it's not the case, right? Even Randall Park is like, literally, like Randall did not do anything film or TV, but he came in. I think I heard about him from a UCLA friend, and at that point he was very known as a comedian, starting this UCLA comedy troupe.
Right.
And then he came in, and what was ironic about that is that my casting director didn't want to cast him. He walked in, I said, "Oh my God, this guy is brilliant." I was just like, "This is the guy." And then there was some drama because I think my casting director somehow offered the role to another person.
Oh wow!
And that other person ended up not taking the role because he was involved with another production. And so at the end, I got my way anyway. And but since then, I mean, like I would say that my casting director at that casting director was always pushing this kind of like, but I picked the most commercial cast somehow.
What was your casting director pushing for?
Well, for example,
what priorities were
it was also between Wilson Cruz and this unknown Australian guy. And this unknown Australian guy was pretty good, but everybody saying, but I really like Wilson Cruz because I brought him in myself personally. I said, Wilson, I think that's a great role for you. He came in, read, and then, but I ended up casting him because, and it was actually a producer friend, Chris Lee. basically said, hey, you know what, you got to put Wilson in it because, he's going to be helpful in terms of publicity. And I've always envisioned the role to be with Wilson anyway. But my casting director definitely brought in some different alternatives, and we worked on another movie, worked on White Frog after that. So, and the lead of White Frog was deciding between this other actor and Boo Boo Stewart. And then then we picked Boo Boo Stewart because we just thought, he walked in and he just did a really great job. And sometimes and I have to say that I'm lucky in that way that I've always gotten basically my first choice of, basically the first choice if people walked in, you felt it's right, then they, end up working with them. So it's a great thing. I guess what I was trying to say was that, even meeting John Cho or like Randall Park, and I really, they were my first choice, but at the same time, you just don't know,
Yeah. Because
how
at that
the
time
career
there
is going to
were
pan
nobody,
out.
right?
Yeah, or even like Chris Silka, he literally, it was his first thing. He literally just had a model resume, and he walked in and he was that character.
Yeah.
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 So.
Yeah, well, that's important. I think one of the things I noticed was, definitely Randall was a highlight of that movie,
Right.
and then the ensemble worked very well. Was in
Karen
Better Luck
Chan,
Tomorrow?
she's Better Luck Tomorrow. So, but it's sort of like her movie. So, because we talked about it, and we sort of worked on a story together. So it's very much so. It was really a collaborative kind of thing, and we hung out so much. It was just such a great experience in some way. It's like, and then also the whole festival circuit was hilarious, and it's fun.
Yeah, that's great. How you
Folly
guys
of youth.
You guys you guys, it was like kind of like a team up. I remember you guys even doing like a lot of campaigning together, and that's always great. That it's
and we
everyone's
party.
in it.
We enjoy partying, so we always party together. We go to all the parties together, and we're kind of like a couple. I think at the film premiere at the Hawaii International Film Festival, I think like it was like just one strange night. But anyways,
Well, you mentioned, so you mentioned Chris. I know Chris Lee. He's very big time producer as well. He's kind of been like a mentor.
Yes,
and
absolutely, yeah. So I met Chris when I was actually going to school at Yale in '93, and I was just like, I was 22, and then we actually never got to work together until literally like when I was like 30. When was White Frog? No, when I was like 40. White Frog was 2011, so I was like 2010.
Wow,
so I was like
2010.
just about 39, 40. Yeah, so it's like. Yeah, so there are a lot of friends that we haven't worked together, and we somehow end up working together like years later, and so he definitely mentored me through a lot of these kind of like films, and he finally produced like White Frog with a couple of other producers. So that was a really good experience too.
Yeah, you can see how like you guys have been like paving the way for.
We tried. Again, we weren't conscious what we were doing. Just even I think just even back in the days, I'd say back like I think so. Shopping for Fangs premiered in 1997. It was part of the Asian American New Wave, and so me and Justin were sort of viewed. There was Shopping for Fangs. There was Chris Chan Lee's Yellow, and then there was Ryo Tajiri's Strawberry Field, and also Eric Nakamura and Michael Aki's Sunsets. So we were sort of like the weird one, because people after Shopping for Fangs always call us the Fang Boys, because we're kind of like the weird people. We're sort of like the weird of the crowd. So Rhea obviously is the most kind of like prestigious out of that crowd, because her film played at Venice and blah blah, and we went to Toronto, but so we're talking about the weird. We don't know what we're about. Yellow is always considered, like Chris was always considered like the poster boy of this Asian American cinema, and then Eric and Michael is more kind of like the alternative bad boy black and white filmmaking. Not would say bad boy, but we were sort of like the people didn't quite get us.
Yeah. Well, and I hear a lot of filmmakers, people underestimate them, or they put them in a category of what they saw early on when they weren't famous, and then
but our film
you couldn't put a bet on somebody.
Yeah,
and say,
our film is also it's hard to categorize, because it's sort of like a mixed genre kind of film. There's a lot of things about this guy who thinks he's turning into a werewolf, and there's basically this woman, you know, who basically has a double personality, and people had a really hard time categorizing it, and yeah. So even though it went to like a lot of like pretty good festivals, it's still, you know, and hopefully it's getting a rediscovery. It was like the 15th anniversary last year, I think.
Wow.
Maybe is it 15th anniversary last year? 15th anniversary, not 2017, right?
Well, if it's like, would you say 99 and 2000?
It's 97.
Like, wow, it's almost more than 20 years.
So it's the 20th anniversary last year.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Ethan Mao is hitting 15th anniversary, and the People I've Slept With, believe it or not, is like 10th anniversary, and then So, but what's interesting about, I feel like this journey of filmmaking was that I feel very lucky to be able to start off making films from an analog point of view, because I really started making films on 16 millimeter, and we were like cutting film stuff, and we're going through all the film process, optical, all the stuff, and actually not until, so my Shopping for Fangs 35, then
35. Wow.
Drift was shot on DV, that's got blown up to 35. So it was, again, like it's the beginning, it's not the edge of the technology when they're blowing up DV film, because there was like Celebration, there was like there was a bunch of films that got blown up. And then Ethan Mao is sort of mixed media, it's a combination of blow up film, which is like, and 35 millimeter. Like everything in the house is shot in 35 millimeter, and everything outside the house, which is about the kids' life on the street, is shot on DV. So it's a mixed kind of thing. And then so The People I've Slept With was actually the first digital film. It was shot entirely on the Red. Okay. So that was actually definitely a learning curve, because, you know, there's a lot of compression kind of thing.
And that's when the camera wasn't so stable.
Yeah, and everything was and actually after, which is great, because, like, you know, I've done restoring all my films, because I restored Ethan Mao last year, so it's getting released this year on the HD version, because even though it's shot on 35, that we didn't have the HD telecine of it, so that's why there's this restored version being released this year. And with then on with People I've Slept With, everything is shot basically on 2K or 4K, Red. Yeah,
which shoots in 4K, but you know,
People I've Slept With is shot on
your
4K.
Theaters like HD resolution in the theater anyway.
Theaters mostly 2K, but then there's some theaters now that are 4K. So,
yeah.
but I really can't tell the difference. I mean, even between HD and 2K, there really isn't. It's kind of hard to tell the difference. But what's great about shooting in 4K, as you know, is probably if you're 4K footage, you're creating HD kind of master, so you can zoom in and that's what's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have to like redo a lot then for? Did you master like People I Slept With and
People I Slept With was shot in
HD?
4K, and actually it stayed on, I think, 2K or like HD.
Yeah.
Because we're so broke that we actually didn't have the resources to actually properly do a what do you call that? DI.
Yeah.
Which is basically bullshit. What is a DI? A DI is basically your QuickTime output, right?
Yeah. Nowadays, yeah.
Because they would charge, like, back in the beginning of digital, they would charge like 50 grand for a DI. You were
it's super, which is. Yeah,
and ironically,
right.
all
That's
the films
exactly
after,
what
like whether you know People I've Slept With, I delivered myself, and White Frog was a difficult delivery because it was with the kind of like a pretty big international sales agent for Tissimo Films, which is no longer around. But their delivery was complicated. There were like several. Yeah, it was like I have to do several versions with DCP and a bunch of stuff, and they never used it. That's the thing. Yeah. They asked for the moon, and you spent, you know, we spent about I would say $15,000 to deliver, and I told them because it's what's weird about a lot of movies that I worked on is that like I'm mostly the most technical guy about filmmaking, and so at the end like all the producers don't even know I don't know, they just kind of like they would make the deal, and for some reason like they actually didn't have the budget to hire someone to do the delivery. So I'd end up doing a lot of delivery myself, and I think I finally had to ask the producers, like, hey, you guys are not doing this, I'm going to have to charge some money to deliver it, because it's like it's a lot of materials to deliver. Work
and time and all that stuff. Yeah.
So
and at the end of the day, these people
you know, because you have to do a lot of delivery stuff too. It's like delivering it's the most uninteresting. I really don't want to deliver another movie. It's like I'd rather, But the thing is, it's the difference between like, let's say that if you work on yourself, you deliver stuff on yourself, you can mostly deliver a movie on, I would say like 15 to 20 grand. Like all the different versions and stuff like that. If you want someone else to deliver, it's going to be like a 50 grand delivery.
And you're gonna have to pay for it one way or the other. It's either you're paying for it up front, or the distributor is going to charge you back and make that money back.
Yeah.
So either way,
But what's great about technology is actually it is making a lot of the deliverables kind of so much cheaper. Like, I'm not sure closed captions used to be really expensive.
Now it's like
closed
free.
captions, well, I wouldn't say it's free, but I use ref.com, but ref is $1 a minute, right?
And they do the subtitling stuff, right? Ref?
Yeah, Ref does like closed captions, because every time you deliver to anything, you have to do closed captions. But I remember closed captions used to be about, it was like $1,000, but now it's a minute.
$1 a minute.
$1 a minute, which is
like
really
$100.
It's $100. So it's like, so those were big ticket stuff. That was hard for independent filmmakers to come up. Even like you're talking about even like delivering like a print master, 35mm print is like $3,000 for a print, right?
Yeah.
And you have to make like you want to do theatrical distribution. So now it's not, you just do the quick time, you send it to a DCP charge you like maybe like a few $100, and and then it goes right into the theaters. It's pretty amazing. So I am always a very pro tech type of filmmaker, because you think about it, like the thing is, like, I guess like I was I started doing computers when I was like, I'm not like super technical, but definitely like, I'm definitely of that computer generation, having my first Apple IIe all the way up to Macintosh, and
well, you've been very like savvy. I think you've been great at like producing and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think that's.
Well, it's not that I want to produce. It's just that nobody else is producing my stuff. So somehow, somebody has to do something. You want to make something. So.
Yeah. I think that's all the great ones, and that they know how to like not just do one thing.
Yeah,
and they make it happen, and they got the vision and all that stuff.
When I was younger, so basically, even I was talking to a lot of directors who only get directors' credits, but at the same time, you realize all the directors are actually producers, because because they're the one that care about the movie the most, and they stay on this movie basically from basically an idea all the way up to distribution.
Yep.
And most producers don't really, they're really just there for production, and maybe if they're like good producers, they would help you deliver the film. But really,
they all have their own production companies, and they're making their films, and that's just how it is on every level. Just to get the movie done, you have to have that. You have to have your own shingle, as they go in Hollywood.
But I think with all the new media, just with like, I think that I think independent film is going to pick up again when streaming is much more popular. Because I really feel like I'm seeing the future is that, just even I, with a couple of friends, started this streaming company called Chopso. Basically, we're sort of like the Asian American version of Netflix, or like an English language Asian content. We only do English language Asian content that includes like, Australian English. But so even with that, we're able to have a workable technology, and we can distribute our film worldwide. But obviously, we don't have the marketing money right now, which is what we're working on to really market this app and market this platform.
Well, I was gonna say you've created the platform though, then, which is awesome. How did you get into? How did you? Well, I assume out of necessity, because I think there isn't anything like this, and we need it.
Basically, we wanted to be the sort of the clearinghouse for a lot of the films that fall through the cracks. Like, I'm not talking even about like, major independent films. There's a lot of films actually that went to film festivals that are actually pretty good, but they somehow fall through the cracks because nobody picked it up, or so we want to be able to house all these movies, because we feel like there is a niche in this sort of like Asian American / Asian English Asian kind of content. But it's still it's still at the very infancy growing stage, and I think that obviously, with something like Crazy Rich Asians, it is opening more doors. I'm not too. Well, how do you feel about that?
I was waiting for your opinion on this one. Yeah.
I hope so. Hopefully, my more stuff get read eventually, and make a TV series. That's the goal. But I'm pitching. Again, it's pitching a lot of stuff. But at the same time, having been in Hollywood for a little while, people kind of have an idea of what they think who you are. They think what you can do. So you're also, I mean, I can definitely get something read, get something, but at the same time, whether somebody actually buys it, it's again so basically as a producer, the best you could do is to really be able to place a product in front of whether it's an executive or like an acquisitions executive, development executives, and even though you don't have any control, I mean, you can never force someone to buy anything or to give you money for anything, but I think your job as producers be able to put this package and product in front of the buyers that are willing, that could buy it, and that's really the best you could do. You can't force anything. And
well, do you think because I was listening to Freakonomics, like Jeremy Lin was actually one of their guests, and he kind of mentioned about the whole he's deceptively quick instead of freakishly quick in comparison to, let's say, someone who's African American. Do you think that people look at you and they underestimate you, or you kind of have to try extra hard?
I have to tell you something, because I'm glad all this Me Too and LGBTQ movement is really pumping up, because I know for a fact that that people underestimate me because I'm gay. And on top of that, I'm gay and Asian. It's another kind of thing. But I not that I just know so, because a lot of times because I know in the back in Hollywood in the 90s, you would never thought about even hey, let's send somebody a gay script or gay Asian script or even an Asian American script. So now people say, hey, if some, I better go take a look at it. Yeah. So this kind of deal, but definitely I think there is some level of a
bias
or profiling, saying, he's that gay filmmaker, or he's that gay Asian filmmaker, is that Asian American filmmaker. It's I mean, you can tell that, because I was there's one time, I'd say 10 years ago, I was having dinner with a writer on Castle.
Okay.
Castle, is it Castle? And he mentioned something hey, so when are you gonna do something kind of not in your community or something? That comment says a lot about how a mainstream writer look at you if you do something that has that it's considered Asian American or gay or whatever, right? I think it's he's more talking about Asian Americans, so as if hey, Asian Americans can't be in a major TV series. We can't make a major TV series, right? So that's something that is wonder why, but I think I am seeing changes are happening because because it or not, it's Crazy Rich Asians and that really realize, hey, you can make a studio film with full Asian American and can still make money. So hopefully, yeah. Well,
I chuckled, by the way, when you said gay Asian, because I was like, that's the hardest category. You've really just, you know what I mean?
I know. It's
two areas that are very, just tough. I mean, it's just tough to probably make something, because they probably do look at you from both angles, and it's but here you are though, and you're still
still making stuff,
he's launching a platform, he's doing another movie. It's I'm well,
it's just at the end of the day you realize, what, you just have your passion. Is that even though I have $1 to make a movie, I will still make a movie. And which I did, because I think there's a little documentary called 0506 HK, and so after Ethan Mao, I was just kind of I was trying to look for my direction, because I was expecting it to be a much more successful kind of thing. I didn't get any kind of new films offers or anything, so I started making a documentary on my own. So I can do it, I can make a film just about something that I care about, and so I just bought a camera for $500 and started shooting, and then it became that documentary feature 0506 HK, which is basically about me thinking whether or not it goes back to Hong Kong or not. And I'm able to, what I particularly am proud of that movie was that I'm able to document a particular kind of period of sentiments, which is actually at the beginning of, before the umbrella movement. Probably that's 05, 06, which is after the transition of 1997, and it's about almost 10 years into it,
Wow,
so that was really that was something that it's, so that I feel that eventually that's going to be historically important, to look back at that era, where, because I also shot a protest against in Hong Kong. So I came back, it was doing protest, but it wasn't at that umbrella movement level. There was still a lot of optimism of of having like full democratic kind of like election.
So you can see, I
but
mean,
obviously now after the umbrella movement, it's like you realize no, that's going to be very hard. You know.
well, it seems like you've been like very ahead, like everything. You've just been ahead. Like you've been ahead, and then it,
Yeah,
and then it hits, and that's.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to be doing
Yeah.
just on trend because making a movie takes time. And
Yeah,
takes,
but
like,
it's not just about trying to catch the trend. It's just I think for me, it's just I just want to do something that at
passionate
that
about
point
it.
I'm passionate about, and you know.
Yeah.
And I was watching this masterclass with David Lynch, and it's which he said something that I totally agree. It's like, at this point in time, he's always make movies that he sort of want to make, rather than making what he thinks the audience wants to see. Because what the audience want to see today may not be what they want to see, in a year. And then if you made a movie that just is something that somebody wants to see, then it could be like a commercial failure. Also, it's you have no connection to it. So,
But I think.
but
that,
as making a movie, takes so much work. I'm just talking about even like there's no movies that doesn't take like 2 years of your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I think taking that path is the longer game. Like it's a harder, longer path, but it would lead you to a better, longer career, more illustrious career.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get into filmmaking? Like what?
Yeah, because I'm one of those cliche story of being a 12-year-old boy in Hong Kong, and there was, I don't know what this, my neighbor's brother came from Canada, and one summer we decided we want to do like a horror film competition. So I just picked up my dad's camera. I wasn't even invited to participate. I just said, I'm going to shoot a film, and I'm going to compete with you guys. And so I ended up shooting my first little film just with a bunch of friends from elementary school, grade sixth graders, and came over and we shot a film called The Road. But I shot the film there, The Road, because that's the road that I walk down to Wan Chai all the time, because that's the road, and I just imagined that there could be all these monsters coming out of it. So that's sort of how it started, and for a while, probably when I was 14, 15, thinking about college, I said I want to go to UCLA because that's where Coppola is, and there were a couple other directors that I felt like that's where I want to go. And
Wow,
it took
so you
me
knew
like
early on.
Yeah, I knew quite early on. Yeah.
You didn't see somebody like kind of like, let's say, perform or something, and then you're like, oh, I want to do that, or like,
No, I always like
direct.
I've always liked telling stories, and I really enjoyed movies. So I realized for me, telling story in the visual medium is probably better. Because I was writing a lot of short stories, but my English was really bad. So eventually I went to school for English. I got 2 degrees in English, but still I think film is probably my most, I guess, comfortable medium in terms of and not documentaries as much, but more narrative features, narrative films. Somehow I just fell into it, that I feel at ease doing it, and I enjoy doing it.
So you grew up here, and then kind of like
I grew up here,
Hollywood
and then
all that
I didn't know how I was gonna get there. But my family immigrated to Montreal when I was like 15. So that was a good time because I realized, okay, well, I'm going to be in the Western world. Maybe not necessary. I still not sure how to get to UCLA. So I just know, hey, I applied there for college, right? So I applied to UCLA, I applied to Berkeley, applied to USC, and a bunch of Ivy League schools. So I got into Berkeley, and UCLA turned me down. So I was like, shit. So I was like, oh, I couldn't, So I was kind of depressed about that. So
even though Berkeley is like a great school to get into, I mean.
Yeah, you know what? Just go to my aunt was saying. I got to USC film school. So my aunt say, oh yeah, I just don't go to USC, go to Berkeley because USC it's, you just don't go. Just do your graduate degree. And my dad said, you know what? If you want to go to film school, do your undergraduate degree first, and then that's what I did.
School.
So, and then after I graduated, I tried going to UCLA, didn't get in, so I ended up being at Yale for a year. And then I applied again to UCLA, and I was waitlisted. So I said, okay, fine, I'm going to go to USC. So I went to USC for 1 day, and then somehow somebody switched program. Somebody from USC program switched to UCLA, and somebody from UCLA program switched to USC, and then I took that spot, and they told me I got in, so I went to UCLA instead.
Huh.
But I moved to Koreatown already, and so I stayed in K-Town.
You were just persistent. You're just like, look,
yeah,
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
But you know, UCLA, it's like a lot of people want to go to UCLA. I just knew there was another student that was actually a couple of years senior of me, and he got into UCLA because what happened? So he used a fake name to get into UCLA, and there was two of them.
Oh wow.
And they were switching between. They were kind of like going to different. They were two people were using one identity. Who got into film school, and they were almost expelled, except that this guy, Aeon Beeley's, his film actually won Spotlight Award. So after he did that, they couldn't expel him. But it was actually two guys, and that name, I believe, Aeon Beeley, is made up.
It sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
That's what, you know what I mean? It's like too like, yeah, mistaken or.
So I'm glad they
faked
kept him.
identity,
So like you know, and also like UCLA also has its own politics because. When I was making Shopping for Fangs, I was second year in film school, and I know me and Justin want to make a feature. So I basically told them I was making my thesis film, checked out all this equipment, went out there, and then shot a feature. And then it got into Toronto Film Festival, you know, won, and then Lisa Wiegand, our DP, actually is now a very famous DP that I couldn't get a hold of anyway. Again, like she actually got a American Cinematographer article, and she was and basically she started the cinematography department at UCLA because of that. And so when I was advancing to candidacy, you know, everybody knew we made a feature film, and it's all out there. Went to all the festivals, and they're asking me, well, you checked out your thesis equipment. So they knew I checked out the thesis equipment to shoot my feature. And I did not shoot what I was supposed to shoot. And they asked me, so we just want to see what you shot with the equipment that you checked out. Because you are no longer eligible to check out any other equipment. Because you checked out.
It's like the library calling
it was
in that
just like,
book,
it was,
you know?
but
how many books
but
have you
if
checked
I
out?
didn't answer this question correctly, I would have not gotten my MFA.
Ooh.
And I said, you know what? I did check out this equipment, but I was shooting this a lot of like, you know, this personal thing, stuff with my boyfriend that I don't feel comfortable about. And then this professor says, oh, but can you just show us something? I said, well, it's really sexual and personal, and if you want to see it, I can show it to you. And the guy said, no. so then I advanced and I got to graduate, and it's like, but you know,
Was that like really bluffing?
Yes,
kind of
yeah.
thing?
So
Like,
I think, but everybody knew. They were just trying to figure out, well, how is he going to get out of it? It's kind of like, what is he going to say?
You're a poker player, man.
so,
I would
yeah.
have been like, okay, you know, you got me. Kind of like, yeah.
And then I think there's one time, I don't know. It's a lot of politics, you know, in institutions you find. I'm sure, like, you know, in everything there's a lot of politics, but I think like Berkeley was actually a really great school because it taught me how to fight the system and how to get away with the system. After, like, you know, so it's
What part? What were you?
Oh, just even everything. You have to fight for. I have to fight for a grade from like a B+ to an A-, and for example, I was put in remedial English because I had to fight out remedial English, and it's just like nonstop. Because like when some of the big classes at Berkeley, like even English classes, people were sitting like out at the door like that.
Oh,
like
that,
it was so
those,
crowded
like,
because
the intro class,
and you kind of have to figure out how to stay in that class. So if it's a class that you really want to get, you had just stayed in until, and usually the first day is up, freshman out the door, sophomore out the door. If you are graduating senior, you have a chance of getting in. So you have to play a lot of these politics just to even get into classes. Yeah.
What? I thought usually it was just like you got a limit and that's it, and then they just.
And I put a lot of stunts. So there was a class that I needed for English, but I almost flunked that class at the beginning because it's Middle English. It was so hard. So there are a lot of things that you learn at Berkeley that makes you, how do you get around the system within the system, as much as like bending the rules as much as possible. So
well, and some stuff that just doesn't make sense, you know, like, and you know, you obviously just want to graduate well, and some of it doesn't fit. For example, like, my major when I was at Cornell, you're required to take computer science. And this is with like all the engineers, and like I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna flunk that one. So I was one of the first to ask, hey, can I take that pass-fail so it doesn't affect my GPA? And then eventually they let me, and then I think subsequent people in my major were able to. But until then, it's like, because you're gonna get killed by everyone else who's like, if you're a CS major, you're just gonna study your ass off, and that's not your only thing that you're studying. So you know how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
You know the result.
But I guess my training ground was basically just at Berkeley as being trying to get around the rules. But as a filmmaker, you have to always kind of like you're not lying. I would say I never lie. But you have to hustle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, there's no way around it. Like
it's a lot of problem solving, and
it's problem solving. There's so many sharks and so many mean people in this industry, and I really dislike all these mean people, and somehow you just have to survive.
Yeah. And here you are. 10 year, like we got a 10-year anniversary.
I know.
And then you're making another movie?
Yes. I saw something on I'm actually prepping. I'm prepping an action film. That's set in Hong Kong, and it's with actually an American actor, Russell Wong. He's playing basically the lead role, and I'm really excited about that. It's called Father's Day. It's basically kind of like a Taken kind of type of movie with an AI twist. But it's like a really fun movie. I think I'd enjoy it, and I really believe in Russell because I know he's a star. So.
Well, he's great. He's one of the OGs. I mean, by the way, I don't know him personally, and I've met his brother and actually flew in his helicopter. Michael Wong, who's
you flew in the helicopter for a film?
No. It was just we were shooting something, and
cool.
he took me up, and he's doing all these like really cool maneuvers. It's really awesome. He's like going, "Let's go sideways." I'm like, "Okay," and like the doors are off and everything. It was cool. But anyway, I think of Russell in that. He was opposite Wesley Snipes in that.
Yes.
What movie was that?
Romeo is Bleeding. Romeo Must Die.
Romeo Must Die, maybe. Yeah, I guess so.
Is he Wesley Snipes?
Well, no. Romeo Must Die. He was opposite Jet Li.
Jet Li. Okay.
He was the baddie.
That guy. Baddie.
Yeah, I remember him like.
Wesley
like, hey,
Snipes.
let's go.
It has to be.
But early
New
on,
Jack City.
Yeah. I mean, that was his real entryway into the role.
Yeah.
And he was in like Vanishing Sun. So
Vanishing Sun.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
Well,
Because not a lot of actors have that kind of like star quality, and I think I'm good because like I don't know. I just go with my instincts. I don't know why. I believe in it. So that's we'll see.
Well, and we've seen with your other films that the people you went with have gone on to do a lot of big things. So it's not like your hit rate's very good.
Yeah, I hope
statistical.
So. I hope so. With Asian men, actually.
All types. Well, cool. Well, I think it was pretty awesome to just like kind of catch up with you.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, thanks for having me. It's enjoy it. I look forward to seeing the show.